Good morning and welcome to the Xpressbet Racing Report with the great Jim Miller. I'm David Kaplan. We're here at Hawthorne in suburban Chicago. We had two 100-point races last week, UAE and the Florida Derby, the Xpressbet Florida Derby. Did it clear anything up?
No, it didn't clear up a whole lot for me, Cap, and that's because you had some upsets in each of those races, but especially the Florida Derby. You had horses like Bourbon War, who you thought could kind of make their mark going forward to the Kentucky Derby, but you had a bit of an upset there in the Florida Derby and a huge upset to me in the UAE Derby. So what these last two races did was add a lot of points to horses that I really don't think are going to be that competitive on Kentucky Derby Day.
Which also means there's some real quality horses pushed down that, oh, we better get another race in here and we better get points.
Yeah, and they're running out of time here, Cap, and that's the thing. When you're going to look at the points leaderboard a little bit later on in the show, we said 40 points is probably going to be the mark, and it's still looking like that because that 40 total has now moved down to 13 horses. So you have 3 preps this weekend, 2 more next weekend, and after that, everything's going to be lined up for the Derby, but there's a lot of points to be handed out and a lot of horses that are really still in search of those points.
All right, let's take a watch and a listen to the Xpressbet Florida Derby last Saturday.
Bodie Express is there second. Castellano yet to move on Hidden Scroll, making a decision about where he wants to go. Code of Honor is scrubbed on. He's not gaining much ground. Union's Destiny is called it a day. Garter and Tie is wide. Widest of all is Bourbon War, but he's commencing a rally. Meanwhile, up front, they left Maximum Security alone, and Maximum Security cuts the corner and opens up. Maximum Security, less than a quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. Second is Bodie Express. He's running a huge race down at the inside in Code of Honor. Hidden Scroll at a 1-pace, Bourbon War on the outside, but Maximum Security proves he's the real deal with a gate-to-wire win in the Florida Derby. Bodie Express was second, Code of Honor finished third, then Bourbon War and Current in 1:48 and 4.
So a great race, a long shot running second, gave some great payouts, and if you'd like to bet on races like that or the Santa Anita this weekend, well, go to xpressbet.com. They've got some great promos going. To cash in, simply register and make a win bet up to $10 on any horse in any or all the Derby preps. If your horse finishes second or third, you're going to get your cash back. They call it their get money back on all of the preps. Okay, the Xpressbet Florida Derby, you liked Bourbon War. Yep. I had a handful of different combinations I put together, but in the end, neither of us had a 70-to-1 shot running second.
Well, and that was the thing about the race, Cap. I think both of us really thought there were 4 or 5 horses that were going to show a lot of speed in that race, and then all of a sudden, the gate sprung, and Maximum Security was the only one cruising along out there on the front end. So you talk about that second-place finisher in Bodie Express, you're sitting there at 70-to-1. You're sitting second on a perfect trip, and nobody's pushing you along. So Maximum Security just gets to coast along on the front end. Bodie Express gets to chase the whole way. But you look at horses underneath. Bourbon War, a real tough trip. Had to try to go wide behind very little pace. I know you liked Harvey Wallbanger last week. That horse really hurt by the race because, again, no pace to chase, but Maximum Security really good in that spot. And Bodie Express at 70-to-1. Really a big trip.
I got to ask you about one of the favorites in the race was a horse, Hidden Scroll, that I liked, the one horse. Never fired. What happened?
No, and the thing about Hidden Scroll was this was a horse that showed so much speed in the race prior and kind of got hooked up in a speed duel with a long shot. I think the instructions to the rider were take back. No matter what you do, take back off the pace. And you see early on in this race, going into the first turn, not only is the horse taken back, it's under a stranglehold, nowhere to go. And to me, a young horse who's lightly raced can get discouraged when that happens. I think that's what happened with Hidden Scroll. And when it was time to really do the running, this is a horse that just backed out of it.
All right, a horse like Bodie Express. Yep. Tell me about this horse, because 70-to-1, and I'm, at the track, and I'm watching, and I'm playing, and Eddie Olczyk liked that horse. Right. He did not like Maximum Security, so we had some debate about that. Well, the 70-to-1 runs second, Maximum Express wins, and neither of us had the other horses.
Yeah, and Bodie Express pays $47 to play, so that's where the money really can be made at the windows on a horse like this. And this is a horse that when you have tactical speed, it really does help. But Bodie Express has those 40 points now, and we'll see what that does for the leaderboard.
All right, so let's take a look at that leaderboard. Coming out of the Xpressbet Florida Derby, you now have, as Jim said, 13 horses that have probably the number of points they need to get in, but not all of them have legitimate chances to win in Churchill.
To me, looking at this, for the credentials of the top 13, I can see 3 horses right now that could probably win the Kentucky Derby out of those 13. And that's going to be the question coming up this weekend and next weekend, is who's going to have to run that big race and then have to back it up with another big race in the Kentucky Derby. Because right now, it's really only a handful of these horses that are in the race that I think really can get the job done.
Yeah, and so if you look, Plus Q Parfait, By My Standards, Maximum Security, Code of Honor, War of Will. And I said to you, okay, Jim, I want to make a couple of futures bets. You liked Maximum Security, Game Winner, and Omaha Beach, and said the rest of them, I'm not sure they can win.
Yeah, Game Winner right now, I think, is your Kentucky Derby favorite going into today. And this is a horse that's still going to run in the Santa Anita Derby. So we'll see how things unfold for that one. You look at Omaha Beach, they're running in the Arkansas Derby, so that one could be a threat as well. Plus Parfait stands at the top of the standings, and this horse just won the UAE Derby, and I don't even think they're good enough.
Okay, a horse like Mucho Gusto, improbable. There's some different horses here at the bottom. Are they running out of time?
They're running out of time. They have to get points, and not only do they have to get points, they have to run well now. You're going to have to finish at least second, maybe third in a 100-point race to get in, but these are horses that you're running from big stables like the Baffert barn. You really need to put forth that big, solid race moving forward, because 24, 25 points this year, not enough, because you don't have that horse at the top of the standings sitting with 150 or 160 and dominating. Things just really spread out.
Okay, the other 100-point race was across the pond, so to speak. It was nowhere near the States. It was at Maidan, a 100-point race. Let's take a look.
Pressure down before the bend they come. Swift Rose is the leader. As they come to the final 650, it is Swift Rose leading over Stubbins on the outside. Manguzzi's had a wide trip, beginning to fiddle a little bit. They were followed by Walking Thunder. Divine Image is gone. Plus Parfait looking to get into the clear. Next of all then is Superior, and out wider on the track is Grey Magician, but they turn in, and Manguzzi still comes on strong. Manguzzi up on the outside, goes to the front over Swift Rose, Stubbins. Now down the outside, Grey Magician and Plus Parfait over on the inside. Manguzzi joined by Grey Magician. Plus Parfait is finishing hard along the inside. Plus Parfait went to the front. Grey Magician went with it. Plus Parfait in front, and Plus Parfait takes it out. Plus Parfait takes out.
So there you have the race at Maidan. And by the way, if you'd like to bet on races like that, or the races this weekend, or the upcoming Triple Crown races starting with the Derby in May, Xpressbet.com, you can wager on every racetrack, every racing day, news, info, selections, and you can get a $500, $100, even a $20 bonus when you sign up at Xpressbet.com. I play there, Jim plays there, Eddie Olczyk plays there. It is a great way to enjoy the races and maybe make a few bucks. Your quick thoughts on Maidan?
Yeah, Plus Parfait is the horse that finished 13th in the Risen Star, and we kind of saw the Louisiana Derby with a lot of Risen Star horses, and the Louisiana Derby I didn't think came up very strong this year. This was a horse that ran a big race in Maidan. I think that will be the career race for this horse, but I guess if your career race is in a $2.5 million race, that's okay, but you have enough points to get into the Derby. I just don't think this horse will be in the mix at all on Kentucky Derby Day.
Right, so you have a U.S. horse going over there winning impressively, but you don't see Plus Parfait in the winner's circle.
I don't think this is a horse that's even in the top half of your Derby contenders right now, despite that trip. And the horse did run a good race, got a perfect setup, saving ground the whole way. But to me, just not good enough.
All right, we've got to take our first time out here on the Xpressbet Racing Report. A whole lot to do to get you ready for Santa Anita. We've got the Wood, the Bluegrass. We've got some interesting races this weekend. We'll also try to make you some money. We'll be right back on NBC Sports Chicago.
Whether you're at home or at the track, have a stake in the race when you bet with Xpressbet. Sign up for an Xpressbet online betting account and receive up to a $500 sign-up bonus.
We continue on the Xpressbet Racing Report. I'm David Kaplan. He is the ace. He is Jim Miller. 3 more 100-point races this weekend will start out at Aqueduct with the Wood.
Yeah, and I really like the Wood Memorial this week, Cap. I think this is the most talented field of any of the preps this weekend, and only for the fact that it's really deep. You get a big field here at Aqueduct, and you get kind of a track that is played a little bit differently this year because you don't have to worry about that inner dirt speed bias this year. Everything's been on the outer track. You're coming off a race in the Gotham where Haikal was really good closing late, but you look along the inside, you have Hoffa's Union, who was excellent in only one start. You have Tax, who's been good. Haikal's in the race, and Tacitus in there as well. So the inside 4 horses, all with big shots there in New York.
Okay, there's a horse in Outshine that I like a lot based on some of his history, usually near the top of the leaderboard, sharp with his workouts, and a horse, for some reason, I like Math Wizard in the 9-hole, who's got long morning line odds, but also looks like he's razor sharp.
And that's the thing about it. And really, anything can happen this year because you have no standout in the 3-year-old crop. So any of these horses could post good efforts. And Outshine comes from the barn of Todd Pletcher. This is a guy that's stabled there in New York, very familiar with that racing circuit, and I think he has this horse very well placed.
Okay, so let's move from that. Let's go to Keeneland, where the Toyota Bluegrass will be contested.
Yeah, and this is really interesting race, Cap, because you're looking at it. You get a full field of 14 here. They're racing for $1 million, and with how good that race is in the Wood Memorial, I just don't think the talent is nearly as good here at Keeneland. I only find one horse in the favor of Vekoma who really could be a horse that might be able to move forward and really make his mark on Kentucky Derby Day. I think if anybody else wins the race, it's going to be a major upset, but if you're looking at figures alone, I really don't think any of these match up with even the top 15 in your leaderboard standings.
So at what point would a ownership group look and go, wait a second, we're caught in a really tough spot here at Aqueduct. That's a talented field. We're going to divert down to Keeneland.
And it wouldn't surprise me, actually, if you see a couple of horses. They can't move to Keeneland now, but what they could do is maybe move to the Arkansas Derby next weekend, or even wait till next week because the Lexington, which is only a 20-point race, but that might be enough for some of these horses to get into the Derby, may be able to look at that race too. So I'll be curious to see if anybody shifts things around a little bit, sees how things are shaping up in Arkansas as well, or if they're just going to stick right there in New York.
What about a horse like Some Like It Hot Brown? Looks like it's in pretty good shape.
And Some Like It Hot Brown is one of those few horses in this race at Keeneland that does have some points, Cap. So if this horse finishes 2nd or 3rd, can get into the Kentucky Derby, doesn't have to win the race. Everybody else in this field, you really can only guarantee your spot if you're winning the race. That's the one horse in the field that could run a good race, not have to win, and still make the Derby.
All right, let's move on to Santa Anita. And it's been in the news.
Yep.
And you have a number of big-name trainers, Bob Baffert being one of them. They need points.
Yeah, they do need points, and that's the thing. And when you didn't have the San Felipe this year, a lot of them really kind of had to shuffle things around, change their plans because that chance on points wasn't there. But Bob Baffert does have game winner on the outside. This is a horse that we mentioned a little bit earlier in the show is probably your favorite right now going into the Kentucky Derby. You need to run a big race in here, but there's a couple other horses. Roadster is coming in off a little bit of an injury. He had that one start last out. Another Baffert horse. But then Jerry Hollendorfer as a horse that was very highly regarded early on in his career by the name of Instagram, comes back from New York all the way back out to California. I think that horse could be a major factor in the Santa Anita Derby.
Of the 3 races, if you said to someone, all right, you want to watch a really fun race, watch that one, which would it be?
A fun race, I would take the race in New York. I would take the Wood Memorial. If you want to watch the horses that could be the most eye-popping, it's the Santa Anita Derby because that's the path that Justify followed last year as well. But I think a really fun race because you have no clue what's going to happen is that Wood Memorial in New York.
And a lot of talent in that race.
A lot of talent in that race and a lot of lightly raced horses that could become very talented racehorses.
Where will you be making your wagers later in the program for which race?
I'm going to be sitting on Xpressbet.com and I'm going to look at a couple of different options. I'm going to look like you in the Wood Memorial and make some wagers on some horses that are going to be possibly bigger prices, but really my focus later on the show is going to be on the Santa Anita Derby.
All right, when we come back, Ren Carruthers is going to join us. And again, you need to go to Xpressbet.com. That's where you could sign up, get those bonuses, and have a chance to wager on all the spring races as we get you set for Derby Day. We'll be right back. All right, rolling on here on the Xpressbet Racing Report with Jim Miller. I'm David Kaplan, and we are at Hawthorne Race Course in Stickney, just outside the beautiful city of Chicago. Ren Carruthers, who is our breeding and pedigree expert, has some great insight on the horses, files this report.
Let's jump right into talking about the Bluegrass Stakes. Vekoma is your favorite. And while nobody is questioning this colt's talent, what you might be wondering about is his pedigree in terms of getting a distance. Vekoma is by Candy Ride. Candy Ride was a champion miler in Argentina, but don't forget, when he came to the States, he won multiple times routing. One of those victories, of course, being his career-capping triumph in the mile and a quarter Pacific Classic. Vekoma's dam, Mona di Mama, won the Grade 1 Humana Distaff at 7 furlongs over champion sprinter Informed Decision. She's a daughter of Speightstown. Speightstown won the 2004 Breeders' Cup Sprint. So again, speed. Vekoma's second dam, Society Gal, half-sister to the speedy Mr. Greeley. But whereas Mr. Greeley was by Gone West, she was by Linkage, and Linkage won the Bluegrass Stakes in 1982, was second in the Preakness, and fourth in the mile and a half Belmont. Adding further Grade 1 cred to Vekoma's pedigree is his third dam, Long Legend, who is also the third dam of a couple of notable stars, among them Santa Anita Oaks and Zenyatta Stakes winner, Paradise Woods, and the first horse to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile as well as the Kentucky Derby, Street Sense. Moving on to the Wood Memorial, let's talk about a tax you actually might like. This colt is by Arch, who won the mile and a quarter Super Derby, and out of Toll, who was not a spectacular racehorse herself, but is a daughter of 2000's Cartier Horse of the Year, Giants Causeway. He could definitely win at Grade 1 level routing, taking the Eclipse, the Irish Champion, the Juddmonte International, as well as coming up just a neck shy of Tisnow on dirt in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Tax's second dam or grandmother is Yell, who won the Grade 2 Raven Run and was third in the 2003 Kentucky Oaks. She's a daughter of our oldest living classic champion, AP Indy, who has sired a dynasty in the thoroughbred breed. And it's fitting because he's a son of Triple Crown champion Seattle Slew and out of a daughter of the immortal Secretariat. Getting back to Yell, Yell is a half-sister to Grade 2 winner Roar, who is the broodmare sire of the great Rachel Alexandra. She's also a half-sister to Praise, whose progeny includes sires Congrats and Flatter. This, of course, makes Tax's third dam the accomplished Wild Applause, whose siblings include Hero's Honor, who won the Grade 1 Bowling Green and Grade 1 United Nations, as well as Sea Hero, who won the Kentucky Derby in 1993. This female family traces to one of the best families a thoroughbred breed has to offer, and that is of La Troyenne. I'll get more in depth on her when we talk about game winner in the Santa Anita Derby. But before I get there, I do want to mention Final Jeopardy, a son of Kentucky Derby winner Street Sense. His second dam, his grandmother, is a half-sister to Midshipman, but also a three-quarter sister to Frosted's dam, Fast Cookie. And Frosted won the Wood Memorial before going on in his 4-year-old campaign to rock our socks, winning the Whitney as well as the Met Mile in scintillating fashion. Of the 3 Derby preps this Saturday, the Santa Anita Derby does have the shortest field, but it does not lack for talent. You've got Game Winner, Roadster, and Instagram all heading into the gate, and Game Winner happens to be my top pick to win the Kentucky Derby. Go back and watch the Rebel and how he breaks out of the gate on his toes and stays on them for a couple more jumps, yet comes up just a nose shy of Omaha Beach. Watch the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and how he relished the stretch at Churchill Downs. I actually saw him ahead of the Breeders' Cup, and I gotta tell you, when you think alpha male, he is the picture of one. He exudes such class and is so well conformed, and I'm all the more impressed by his presence, considering the fact at just 3 months old, Game Winner was orphaned. That's right, his dam Indian Giving passed away at a very tender age, but it's a great story should he go on to win the Kentucky Derby. Let's talk about pedigree. Game Winner, like Vekoma, is a son of Candy Ride, and as we discussed, Candy Ride was a champion miler in Argentina. He also won the mile and a quarter Pacific Classic. Game Winner's dam, Indian Giving, unraced, a daughter of AP Indy. We discussed AP Indy when talking about tax and how AP Indy is our oldest living classic champion. He also won the Belmont Stakes. He's a son of Triple Crown champion Seattle Slew and out of a daughter of Triple Crown champion Secretariat. And then Game Winner's second dam is 2006's champion older mare, Fleet Indian. And boy, did she go on a tear between, November of 2005 and October of 2006, winning 8 races, 7 of them stakes, 2 of those being grade 1s, the Personal Ensign and the Belle Dame. As you'll recall, I mentioned that Tax and Game Winner hail from the same female family, that is family 1X, the family of La Troyenne. It is responsible for the likes of Bimelech, Busher, Busanda, Buckpasser, Mineshaft, Easy Go, or Poker, who is the broodmare sire of Seattle Slew and Silver Charm, Judy the Beauty, Stephanie's Kitten, affectionately, Princess Rooney. I could go on, but I'll tell you this, I really do feel that Game Winner is going to add to the luster of this already luminous family tree.
Thanks very much, Ren. By the way, go to Xpressbet.com. You can sign up right now. Great bonuses, $500, $100, $20. They've got a bunch of cool promos to get you set for Derby Saturday and the rest of the spring racing. Your thoughts on some of the things Ren was talking about?
Well, here's the cool thing, Cap, about having Ren on the show is you and I can look on paper and we can handicap these races, see what horses have done in prior races and that. Ren dives deeper into the pedigree and the breeding for these horses. And when you're talking about the Kentucky Derby, these are horses that have gone a mile and a 16th, a mile and 1/8. She's the one who can tell us who can really go that 1.25 miles on the first Saturday in May. And that's one of the things that you do have to focus on as well. By my standards, currently stands second right now in the point standings. This is a horse that's really only bred to maybe go a mile or a 1.16 miles. So when you talk that 1.25 miles, I'd say stay away, but that's one of the things we're having Ren as a part of the show can really guide us in the right direction and looking at these preps. It's something that I think we need this weekend because there's a lot of unknowns, but she can help with that for sure.
Does an ownership group, a trainer, look at their horse and go, oh boy, we can maybe squeeze out the distance for the Derby, but we have no chance at the Belmont at 1.5 miles, or do they simply train their horse the best way it can be and then see where it falls?
I think under the trainer, it falls with that hope that that horse can go 2 turns early on. When you get to the ownership, it's like, oh my goodness, this is the Derby that I have a chance to run in. And that's where things get a little bit warped. If you have enough points and a healthy racehorse, you want to go in that race because of all the pageantry of the Kentucky Derby. When you're that trainer, you got to kind of weigh your options there. Can the horse make the distance? What can I do to help the horse maybe eke out a little bit more distance? But when you're moving forward through this series of the Triple Crown races, the Preakness is going to be a little bit easier race at Pimlico because it's slightly shorter. But you're right, that 1.5 miles at Belmont is just a very daunting distance.
And those turns at Pimlico, we know, are a little bit tighter.
Yeah, a little bit tighter there. It's a track that really plays more towards speed horses too, and that's the one thing. If you can avoid having dirt kicked in your face, especially in a field of 20 in the Kentucky Derby, you want to do so. So you see a lot of these horses show speed throughout the course of their career early on, and stamina will become an issue as we get a little bit deeper into the series.
All right, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we'll try to make you some money. We'll give you our picks. I'm going Wood Memorial. My guy here, I think, might be putting some of his cash in Santa Anita. We'll be right back.
Whether you're at home or at the track, have a stake in the race when you bet with Xpressbet. Sign up for an Xpressbet online betting account and receive up to a $500 sign-up bonus.
All right, time to make you money here on the Xpressbet Racing Report with Jim Miller. I'm David Kaplan. So we looked at these races. I am going to play the best field.
Yep.
Aqueduct, the Wood Memorial.
It was a great field.
And there is a ton of great horses here. I like a horse called Hoffa's Union, sitting in the 3 spot. I actually like a horse, Haikal, but I'm going to leave it out. I think it's a beatable horse. Over-deliver, tax, outshine, and then there's a 30-to-1 shot Math Wizard. So what I am going to take is I am going to put a 1, a 3, a 9, and a 10. Those 4, and I am going to make a $10 exacta box wager. Cost me $120.
Yep.
I made a bunch of money 2 weeks ago on the race, so I've still got money in my account. that's what I'm playing.
Yeah, and you look at some of these horses, Cap. Hoffa's Union, this is a horse that was a late Triple Crown nominee. You have one race. It was a maiden race. The horse won by like 15 lengths. And now you're a late Triple Crown nominee. You switch barns off that start. And this is a horse that they have to run big. You have to finish second at a minimum if you want to make the Kentucky Derby. If this horse wins, think about it. You'll go into the Kentucky Derby with 2 career races, and that would be it. But Hoffa's Union could be good enough to do so I'll be curious to see. And I think you'll get a better price than what you're seeing in the morning line. I think you could get 6 or 8 to 1 in there.
All right, so I look at that horse, and I think that horse is razor sharp. Its workout times are very, very good.
Yep.
But again, lightly raced, to say the least.
Yeah, and that's the thing about him. Really, experience is kind of the key, but everybody talked last year about the curse of Apollo when it came to justifying a horse not racing as a 2-year-old. It's not necessary anymore, and especially this year with how wide open things are for the Kentucky Derby leading into the race, I could see things really kind of unfolding for a horse like Hoffa's Union, cruising along on the front end again, and maybe this is a horse that just keeps going on, because when you win by that much in that first start out, you definitely have something left in the tank, and this horse may have a whole lot left in the tank.
All right, you're going to be betting not the Aqueduct. You're going to play Santa Anita.
Only a 6-horse field here, Cap, for the Santa Anita Derby. And here's the thing about it. Game winner, the horse that I said right now would be the favorite in the Kentucky Derby, is the horse that I think you try to play against in this spot. This is a horse that can finish second and have enough points to get in. It's going to be the 4 to 5 favorite in there. But look at Instagram in this race. Now, Instagram is a horse that's going to be 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 in here. Comes from the barn of Jerry Hollendorfer. He had battled a midway a couple years ago who ran huge in the Derby. Instilled regard to last year who ran another gigantic race in the Derby. Instagram's a horse that'll stretch out in distance. I spoke to Hollendorfer's assistant this morning. He said, we're going on the lead. And so if you're going to send away in a 6-horse field and cruise along on the lead, let's find out how far Instagram can go. But for me, $50 to win in place on this horse.
All right, so, and you expect what type of odds again?
Instagram's 3 to 1 right now in the morning line. I think you'll get all of that 3 to 1. I fully expect game winner on the outside to be bet down to 2 to 5 in this race.
That short a price?
Yeah. You're the Breeders' Cup Juvenile champ. This is a horse that's earned $1.6 million on its career and still needs some points because he finished second last time out. Bob Baffert's in it to win it, but he knows with this horse, and the rider knows if you finish second, you're going to be good enough.
And if Instagram can steal this race, there should be some nice payday.
Yeah,
nice payday.
Could be a nice payday there if you can beat the favorite. If the favorite maybe even runs third, all of a sudden that place money that you're backing it up with is even bigger in that spot. But I do think 3 to 1 to me is enough value, so I'll put 50 to win in place on the horse.
All right, so those are our picks, and we'll see if we can make you some money. But if you'd like to bet, if you flipped on, you went, you know what, I want to do this. It looks like fun. It's a lot of fun. Go to Xpressbet.com. They've got a ton of different promos. You can get bonuses, 500, 100, 20 bucks. Go to Xpressbet.com. They've got videos. They've got articles. They've got handicapping advice. You'll have a whole lot of fun. It'll get you set for the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont. All right, for our great crew out here at Hawthorne, for Jim Miller, I'm David Kaplan. May all your tickets be winners.